Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our second last episode of Books and Booze before we take a break. So thank you for hanging out with this fun series. We will be bringing it back. Don't you worry. But for now, I want to pass it to Dawn to introduce this week's author.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Books and Booze. I would like to give a warm welcome to Niccoyan. No, that's not how I pronounced it. Crap. I'll let you introduce yourself because I'm horrible with names. Take it away.
I'm Niccoyan Zheng, and I'm a Canadian author, and the majority of my books will be set in Canada.
We love this.
Considering we're Canadians, so
yeah,
we
love
all
Canadians.
Awesome.
And what is the book you'll be reading today?
So hopefully this works because I noticed I blurred my background. So let's see if I can get it in there. Nope, is it showing? Yes, it is actually.
Yeah. Ooh.
Kind of. There we go. So it's Emulsify, meant to be. Nope, it's coming out blurred. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Yes, but it's Emulsify, meant to be. It's the second book in the Elite series.
Ooh, you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yes. So the Elite series is a group of 3 friends. We have Nico Carisi, which is book 1, which is retrograde. And then this book is really special to my heart. It is Aaron's book, and he's a chef. And it is a friends to lovers. And the nice thing about it is it's a true friends to lover. It's a slow burn, but in my humble opinion, when it does burn, it does burn. So.
I actually like slow burns sometimes. Sometimes it's just good for the palate, to build up the angst. I love that.
Yes, and they have a lot of angst, and they're maybe a little bit oblivious that there's something else going on between them, but they're great friends to each other, which is what I wanted to portray. Their amazing friendship.
So what part in Canada is this going to be shown?
So this is actually set in the GTA. So they're in Toronto, downtown,
Good, I know
you
that
lovely ladies are also in GTA?
Yes, we are. Well, we're in the GTHA, the Greater Toronto Hamilton area.
Yes, I forgot. I cannot forget that they've added the H.
Yeah, because we're from Hamilton. So.
Oh, Awesome! My husband went to university up there.
Me too.
McMaster, nice.
Yeah. Yes, I guess that doesn't leave any secret to where he went.
Yeah, we only have one university, so
yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm really looking forward to hearing this. I will read the drink words because I have them in front of me. So the drink words are good girl. Partially, that's my favorite. So good girl. Yes, chef. Taste and love.
Awesome. So I'm like, when you said, read a whole chapter, I'm like, I think this is a pretty good chapter, but I realized that it's a long chapter. It's a little bit longer. And
we're here for an hour. So, I mean,
so however much you want to read, you can. We've had some people only read for 5 minutes. We've had some people read for 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's whatever you are comfortable with.
Awesome. So maybe we'll go with the flow and we'll see how much of this chapter. This is, so I did mention it was a slow burn. This is where it starts to burn.
Ooh, we like that.
You did say that I didn't have any restrictions in what I read. So I was like,
no, we are.
We're 18 plus. If you're a child and you're listening to this, you're breaking the rules.
Very much so.
Well, I'm going to mute myself because I don't want you hearing me slurp. So start whenever you are ready.
Okay. Aaron couldn't be certain how long they'd been on course to reach this moment. It was just a kiss. Yet he wasn't fool enough to think that it wouldn't change things. In fact, he was certain it would. God, he was counting on it. All night, she'd been slowly driving him out of his mind. No, it hadn't started tonight. He would not allow himself to backtrack at the moment it started to sidetrack him. Then she said 2 words that had shattered his resolve. This woman and the way she played with his mind. Certainly he needed to be sure she wanted this kiss as much as he did. So he waited and looked for signs she would change her mind. When she offered her lips up to him, he could no longer resist the urge. His kiss had been gentle, starting with a soft peck, followed by another. Sherbrooke's kiss was so soft. The lips were so soft. She took a slight step closer. Her heat ignited the need that was growing within him. Slow. It was the opposite of what he wanted. However, he reminded himself of who he held. This was the woman whose friendship meant everything to him. Aaron was desperately trying to hold himself back. He knew exactly why, too. Sherbrooke called to a part of him that was primal, something he hadn't allowed himself to fully explore. All it took to unleash it was the slightest swipe of her tongue to the seam of his lips. The kiss turned from gentle, tentative, to pure possession. His mouth captured hers, and her moan of surrender was answered with a complete plundering of her mouth. His other hand wrapped around her waist, drawing and pressing her into his hardening length. He swallowed her small gasp. The things he wanted to do to this woman, those things he wouldn't be done here. He broke the kiss. "Hey," she protested before confusion wrinkled her brow. "No worries. We're just getting started. Take me to your room." His voice sounded foreign to his own ears. There was no way to disguise the need and command in his voice. "As you wish." Her smile was carnal as she pulled out of his hold and grabbed his hand. Sherbrooke walked tortuously slow up the stairs and into her room. Aaron closed the door and allowed her to walk over to the bed. The bed was enormous, good, with plenty of room to explore every inch of her. Good. The bedroom was warm, so he removed his shirt as he stalked towards her. Sherbrooke moved to take off her dress as well. "Stop." The command was immediately obeyed. She released the hem of her dress. Her espresso-colored eyes met his. "Good girl." "Ah, what was that?" Her lips parted slightly, and her eyes rounded before she dipped them. When she looked back up at him, it was through her lashes. He couldn't help the wolfish grin that appeared. Excellent. Aaron knew how easy it was for her to trigger him. Now he suspected 2 well-placed words could do the same to her. This new knowledge only deepened his desire to explore with her. She had the right idea about removing the dress, but he wanted to do it himself. He dragged up the hem of the dress. The room was quiet except for the sound of their breaths. Both were slow and measured in anticipation. Slowly, the expanse of her beautiful skin was revealed. "Lift your arms for me, love." His command was gentle and low. Aaron yanked off the dress and discarded it over his shoulder. It landed somewhere behind him, forgotten. All his attention was hyper-focused on the woman before him. The matching black bra and panty set was plain. On Sherbrooke, they were anything but. The simplicity was dangerously sensual against her warm, dark complexion, an open invitation begging him to touch. It wasn't a compulsion he could deny. The reward was the velvety softness of her shoulder. He deftly fingered the strap with his thumb. That was until he reached her full mound. He smiled at her ampleness, and he weighed them in his hands. They were more than a handful. "Aaron," her voice was raspy with want. Aaron had every intention of giving her more than she wanted and needed. On his time, he needed to savor this moment. Through the material, his thumb found and circled the nipples until they became hard tips. Reluctantly, his hands let go of the heavy globes. He pulled her flush against him so he could gain access to the hooks. While he released them, he delivered short, sweet kisses to the blade of her shoulder. He nuzzled the spot on her neck as he got rid of the barrier of her bra. Her groan urged him to strip her bare. "You won't be needing these," Aaron informed her as he worked the panties off her hip, sliding them down her legs. He couldn't help his hand from exploring her warm, smooth curves. Stepping back, his gaze roamed her body. "You're so beautiful," he complimented. Sherbrooke flushed at his admiration and praise. His display of vulnerability was a siren's call. The need to please and bring her pleasure was all he could think of. "Lay down for me, love." She immediately followed his instruction. Laying down before him as a treasure, he couldn't wait to explore. Good girl, he praised. Sherbrooke reached for his buckle then, only to have him brush her hand away. Not yet. I need to taste you. He parted her legs to make room to nestle between her thighs. His plan was to make himself comfortable as he indulged in her. Only as the energy shifted, Sherbrooke was discreetly trying to scoot away from him. No longer laying down, she was sitting back, semi-reclined, propped on her elbow. What's the matter, he asked as he pulled her closer. Listen, it's really nice that you wanna, you know? She wasn't making eye contact with him, but looked off to the side. Eat your pussy, Aaron supplied. She was being shy with him. Yeah, that. Listen, I'm terrible at this. What? I'm sorry, Sherbrooke, love. All you have to do is lay back and let me take care of you. That's the thing. I can't come like that, she stated, gesturing between her open legs and him. He was sure his smile was indulgent. You don't have to do anything. Don't think about coming or not coming. Just let me taste you. Aaron spread her thighs wide, allowing himself greater access. I don't want you to waste your time, she pressed. Sherbrooke sounded a tad distressed. You couldn't have that. If you taste as good as I know you do, it won't be a waste. How about this? I'll stop when I have my fill. He began stroking her in her thigh with a sigh as she nodded. Be a good girl and lay back down for me. The scent of arousal greeted him as he situated his face before his treasure. Reminding himself to take things slowly, he began gently, barely felt swipes to her folds. He was absolutely right. She tasted like sweet ambrosia. And that's why it's stopping.
No, that's a good cliffhanger.
I need another
What
drink.
happens next?
I have
Did
to
I give you
ask.
enough drink words?
Oh yeah, they were perfect. I do have to ask.
Perfect.
Is this based on personal experience?
No, it is not.
Ah.
This is a fictional character that has been living rent-free in my head for many years.
That was hot.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's good. I like it when like authors read some of like these parts, especially if they haven't read them before, like really out loud, because like I think it's like important. I don't know why. It's just like it's your work. It's, you know, we should be showing it and we shouldn't be embarrassed by it or hidden or like anything like that, you know? Like you have a book. That's pretty cool.
That is amazing. I'm still, you know, in the stages of planning writing. Like I'm not even at writing yet. Well, I mean a little bit.
I know. I've given up asking.
Yeah, it's been a trying like couple of months lately.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's a beautiful process. Once you've like finally get the words on the pages and like you get another chapter and another chapter, then you're like, oh, I'm doing it. It's like riding a bike and then you're like, you know, now you're starting to pedal. So
yes.
So what got you into writing? Like what led to you like writing your first book?
So I've always like had this thing in my head where I could hear these characters talking to me, and my dad actually has always been super supportive and said I should be a writer. And so I would like, you know, at first like write a little bit and then leave, write a little bit and then leave. So I have like tons of little stories started here and there. And then finally, during the pandemic, I was just like talking to who would become my writing partners. And I'm like, hey guys, like, yeah, I can't finish a book. I just can't. And they're like, well, we'll write together. And so I actually haven't even finished the one that we started writing together with because a character popped into my head and he totally took over. So that was my first book, but I couldn't believe it. Like within a month, I'd finished my first book and I was like, and everybody's like, oh, you should hold on to it. And I'm like, okay, publish.
We don't got time for that. Just ding. There we go. It's up there.
Yeah. Apparently authors hold on to books. Who knew? But yeah.
Why do that? Like how you can get recognized if you hold on to the book, right? Like, that makes
no
sense.
Did it marinate or something like that?
Maybe. I don't know. So you're from Canada and we're from Canada. So I have to ask, did it make it harder to get editors or anything?
Well, I'm part of a really great community. So it wasn't so hard in that sense because I was already connected with people that could help me with the editing. My girlfriend is like a kick-ass graphic person, so she does all my covers. So that I really was like blessed and lucked out that way. Actually, the hardest part is getting into the Canadian market, getting my books in front of Canadians, weirdly enough.
Yeah. Well, it's like we're such a small market in such a wide cross from BC all the way to Maritimes. We're all different. And so it's really, really hard versus like the US where like the entire population of Canada is like one state.
Yeah.
So it's
Basically.
so it's a lot easier to get in certain markets there. I find even with our podcast, like we found like we get a lot of American listeners. So whenever we get a Canadian, we're like, yeah, whoa,
it's really uncanny. But
so how long have you been an author?
So I published March 27th, 2022. So I consider myself a little baby author.
We love baby authors.
I'm just a baby.
Just a baby.
I'm just a newborn, okay? I'm an infant.
Oh, that's sweet though. Like, wait, so how many books have you published now? Like that one's a sequel, so
yeah. So I currently have 3 books published and 1 anthology.
Okay, that's a lot for being a baby author. I'm just gonna put that out there. Like it's been a year.
Yeah, a little over a year
to do all that. Wait, so how long has it? You said it took you a month to write your first book. How long on average is it taking you to just pop these books out?
Well, I realized that the first book was a little bit of an anomaly. The other ones are not coming as quickly. But I mean, that was just like the actual writing, not the editing. Like the editing was like, oh my God. It took me a few months to get the editing down on the first book. But the subsequent books, it's taking me like a few months to write, like maybe 3-4 months, and then like, a month or so, or 2 months for editing and stuff. So it's probably like a 6-month process.
What would you say is the hardest part about being an author?
Oddly enough, it's not the writing. It's all of the other things, because I feel like I am like doing all, like, because I'm an indie author, so I'm doing everything. So
it's the marketing. A lot of people have come on here and said that marketing is their toughest part.
Yeah, the business part of it is the hardest. Yeah, because I'm kind of like, I was raised to be kind of like, you don't brag. you just do a good job, and then like let that speak for itself. But unfortunately, when you're an author, you kind of have to be a little bit like, hey, I wrote a really cool ass book, you want to read it? So
it's so hard because, like, I mean, you get imposter syndrome and there's so many things that want to hold you back. And then if you have like mental illness and you're shy, and it would be tough.
Kids. Sorry, they're a problem for everything.
I was pretty much done.
Well, okay, so what part of editing did you struggle with? Like,
well,
yeah.
Sorry.
No, go.
So the problem was the first book, I was just like letting it rip, but I wrote it all on my phone. So like this little thing here, I'm like, I wrote it all out. So when I went back, yeah, but it was great because it was just flying. I was like, yeah, woo. And then when I went to go edit it, some of the sentences were like, okay, I'm pretty sure I speak English. It's
supposed to be my first language, but then, I'm in a bilingual country. Let's blame it on that.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, they speak other languages in my house. Apparently, some of them got mixed up. Yeah, so that, even though it's a lot faster, I found to write on my phone, it created a lot more errors. So yeah, that was the hardest part. It was, fixing that. But I think I'm getting better at the editing process. It's, being more confident in your grammar and phrasing and things like that. So it's getting better.
So I'm assuming you're more of a pantser than a plotter? because you're just letting it rip, or do you now plot
So here's
before
the thing.
writing?
I actually have an A-type personality. Surprise. And I actually plan out my stories. And I'm like, I write like these beautiful little, what's the word? Because my characters don't listen to them. I can't even remember what they call. Like outlines. Yes, that's what they're called. So I write beautiful little outlines, even like, oh, I would like this to happen in just chapter. And like, just before I start going. And then
like do filler later. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's my plan always. And then my characters are like, no, we're not doing, no, we're not doing that here. We're not doing that here. We're not even doing that.
Yeah, like just take that out. We're going to add this though. This is happening. And you didn't even know that was going to happen, but it is.
Exactly. And one character, I was like, I changed his name because I didn't like it. Like I just woke up one morning, I was like, I don't really like that name. And I changed it and he's like, yeah. I wrote like maybe 2-3 chapters with the new name. And he's like, that's not my name. So yes,
We're not going to call me that. Like, what are you, crazy?
Yes, apparently.
I love that. A lot of authors have come on here and said that. Like, their characters, like, their story just takes a life of its own. Once you sit down, like, whatever you wrote is not how it's always going to play out. It sometimes totally changes, whole different story. And I believe it, because even now when I attempt to write a story, I get in my head and then I'm like, no, maybe I don't like this. I liked it last week, but I don't like it this week. So that's another thing that's making me challenge like writing like my stories, because I keep changing my mind. I'm like, I didn't like what I put. Like,
oh yeah, the whole doubting yourself is a big thing. So I really, because I thought it was a good idea at one point to edit while I was writing, and I've discovered that is not, I'm too critical to do that, so I have to wait till the end. So
yeah, I'm bad for that too. I second guess everything. Yeah. What made you choose the genre you chose?
Well, I'm a big romantic, I think. And I'm in an interracial relationship, and I wanted that to be represented as well. And I love diversity and culture. Well, look at where I live. So like there's so much diversity and so much rich culture around me, and I wanted to be represented. So in all my books, like there's a lot of like diversity. Like even in this book, Emulsify, he's actually, I was gonna terrorize you guys, and I'm like, you can't do that. You don't know these people. Because he's British, and I was like, should you do a British accent? And then I reminded myself, you really actually are an introvert, even though you like to present as an extrovert. Don't do that.
You can make fun of like British people. That's like, I think we all agree we can make fun of the Brits.
The problem is I think my accent's pretty good.
Right?
Like, oh, wait, okay, wait. Now I need to hear it.
Give it to us.
Can I absolutely can't.
Sorry, I put you on the spot. I'm so sorry. You were just hyping me up. Yes.
I set myself up for that. But I'm a horrible mimic, and of course I'm like a little old lady inside because I still watch Coronation Street, and like my family knows Peppa Pig, Coronation Street. Like at least 15 minutes after I'm done watching that, I'm completely British.
Yeah. Oh, hi, George.
Yeah, see that I can do, right? Hey, George.
Give her like 15 more minutes of drinking, and maybe we'll come back to the British accent.
Yeah, you'll be like, stop it.
Oh,
yay! What do you have any advice for inspiring authors?
My advice is to really honestly keep writing. Like, I know that seems really simple, but honestly, keep writing. Write every day, even if it's like 2 sentences, because it just builds up. Like, it feeds the passion. So write, and then write some more.
We've had a few authors say that. They're like, just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Finish the book. About it. Yeah.
Even like if you're in the bathroom, right? And something comes in your mind, just pull out your phone and write it. Like,
Yeah, that really helps actually, I find. Like when you get inspiration and you like just jot down like that little scene, that helps. It starts flexing that writing muscle.
I agree. I think that's excellent advice, to be honest. And as much as I believe that's excellent advice, ask me if I actually take that advice half the time. No.
It takes a while before you start doing it. Like, you know, what I sometimes I call it I think it's the characters just have to get loud enough where you can't ignore them.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, am I really supposed to be a writer? Am I once you get to the point where I think you're like, am I supposed to be a writer or am I going through a psychosis? I think at that point you have no other choice but just do it.
Yeah, I sometimes wonder that. I'm like, is this just an episode? Is this just a manic episode I'm having right now where I think I can be a writer? My whole life is a manic episode.
Like, your sanity, then you're like, I think you're good to go.
Do you have any favorite authors?
Oh my gosh. I have so many favorite authors because the thing about me is that I love reading. That one, like my biggest drawback about being an author is that I cannot get to read as much as I love to read. So that is that is my biggest, like, in the no column or negative column. I can't think of the right word, but yeah, because you're a writer. Yeah, but that's the biggest negative for me is that I don't get to read as much as I do. So some of my favorite authors are Dari McCoy, Kenya Wright, Kenya Gorbel, Naima Simone, Evelyn Sola. I could just like literally go on and on. I call them badasses with pens because like the way these women write and just capture you and just make you forget that it's a story. Have me arguing with characters. And normally, like, because I like to stay up and like finish a book. So it's like normally like 3:00 in the morning. My poor husband's like, he turns and then he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm reading.
Yeah,
you know this glow is for reading. Yes, this glow is the reading. You know this.
That's really hard though. Like when you like originally use that time for reading and now you're using it to like create your own stuff. Because like I personally love reading. I'm not a writer, but I love reading. So I read, you know, a lot, and I would like almost hate to like lose that time, but I understand like for writers, if you have the urge, I get it. Yeah,
because I read a lot. Like when I say I was like I am still a reader, but I obviously can't read as much because I would probably read anywhere from 7 to 10 books a week. So when I say I read a lot, and I'm not like I like nice big books.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. I read at least a book a day almost. If not in 2 days, I'll read a book. Unless they're like short novellas, I could read like 3 of those, just plow right through them. But going back on that question, is there any author that you've met that was famous?
So I've actually been really super lucky to meet like a lot of authors, and I'm a horrible fangirl. Like I tried so hard to be cool and collective. I told myself, you're too old to be squealing.
Never.
And then I met them, like, and I can't believe I forgot her because, like, she's one of the top authors. Like, my favorite authors is Theodora Taylor. And I remember the first time I met her, I was like, so yeah, I totally. So
okay,
I saw her. I was inside and I saw her and I squealed. So I'm like, I got it out of my system. I obviously am not going to do it when I'm right in front of her. Squealed again.
Oh no! I was gonna say, like, my feminism is coming out. Don't ever feel bad for squealing at famous people, because like grown men do it at sporting events all the time.
Yeah.
You know what? Having said that, you have just ruined a lot of authors' eardrums, because now I feel liberated in my
They're all
squealing.
going to be squealing. I'm like,
I squeal at everyone. I'm like, oh my God, you know, and I never feel bad. You know, I could have.
Yeah, because for me, authors are the biggest rock stars. So I'm like, God, yeah. So yeah,
I mean, that's why they got into it, right? They want to be recognized for their work, and then you know, you can't be upset when you're recognized. Like, this is your dream.
I hope they're cool. I hope they're cool with it. But yeah, everybody I've met has been super sweet and super nice, because I've been to a couple of conventions first as a reader, and now I'm starting to do a few as an author. So it's, you know, now the roles are kind of reversed, and I'm like, am I allowed to still like fangirl over other authors? Is that like
absolutely? Yes,
I'm like, 100%. Yeah, so I'm still doing it.
You just said that you went to conventions. Which conventions have you went to?
So I've gone a few times to IRAE, which is in Florida. It's the Interracial Expo. So I've been I've been there twice as a reader and once as a featured author. So that was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
And I was at Romancing the Falls, and that was a lot of fun. I've been to Swirling the Big Easy, and that I did as a reader. But in September, I'm going to be doing that as an author. So that's going to be fun as well.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I'm doing a Polycon next year.
Oh, that one's a big one.
Okay, I think you're the first like 0 to 100 author that like you're like, I'm gonna write, and then you're like, in a month I finished a book, and then you're like, it's been a year and I'm already like you went from, you know, a baby author. I think you're maturity
you're more than
wise.
an infant.
Like, you're more than an infant. You aged.
Toddler, maybe.
You're a toddler author. You're not a baby.
What does Tommy say? I'm not ready to be an adult.
Oh, a Polycon. I really want to go to that one. I haven't been. I almost went to Love in Las Vegas when we went to Vegas.
I want to go to that.
I wanted to, and then I seen the tickets and I seen how crowded it was, and I was like, probably shouldn't go. 1 year. I'm going to go 1 year. I'm determined. But no, a Polycon is another one that I would love to go. That was big.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, like I'll give it a shot. So I gave it a shot.
That's amazing.
I'm a 100% believer in just shooting your shot. Like half the shit I've ever accomplished was because I was just like, you know what? The worst they can do is like say no. Like it's exactly. You know, yeah.
Yeah. And then like what happens, right? Like
you can say you tried.
You're at the same spot you were before you tried, right? Exactly. So it's not any different. But if you shoot your shot and you get it, you're ahead. You're ahead of the game.
Exactly. That's why I'm glad I'm a woman, because I'm like, sometimes I feel bad for guys. Because when I think about sometimes when they have to shoot their shot, I'm like, gosh, it's not.
I don't feel bad for them.
Yeah, I'm like, nah, they're doing all right. I'm sure. You know,
they'll shoot their shot again with someone else.
Too much, actually.
Yeah.
Yes,
I don't feel bad for them.
I gotta keep remembering to move my mouse, because my computer just goes black.
That happens to us sometimes too. We're like, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle,
wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
So you write what? Primarily romance?
Yeah, so I write romance. It's primarily Swedish. My first book wasn't. It was a little darker, and I'm hoping to go darker still. So yes, I have plans to go a lot darker.
Okay. Is there any other genres you can see yourself exploring as a writer besides like romance or dark romance?
Mystery. I think I would love to do that, but I think I really gotta work out some of the details of like putting some of those pieces together, because I love a good mystery, but the worst thing is when a mystery falls flat. So I really gotta.
That's, I think, is probably one of the hardest genres to write is mystery, because I mean, you need that plot twist, you need the element of surprise, and that's really hard.
And
Yeah.
like so much atmospheric. Like, why do we care about this mystery? Why do we? And like on top of that, like that's something you have to plot.
Yeah.
Like if you have a plot hole in a mystery novel, like that's not good.
You're
I'm
like,
hoping
well,
by
what
then they
happened to
will.
this? Like, why did that just drop off a like? No, I think that's one of the hardest ones to do. So
Yeah, I like a good challenge.
yeah, we all love a challenge.
No, that's really awesome.
Do you have an ARC team for your books?
I do have an art team for my books, so I would love to have more members of the art team for the books. That would be absolutely awesome. I actually have a form. I actually should put it on my website, but if not, it's on my social media, on my Facebook, or you can feel free to DM me, and I can be more than happy to have new members of the art team.
That's amazing.
And I'm chilled. Don't worry, guys. I'm always on book talks. I just want to put it out there. I'm really chilled.
Well, we'll have the link off in the description for anyone that wants to, apply. You just mentioned book talk. So like, what is your favorite like social media to use that you think helps get your book out there the most?
I actually think it's book talk. I mean, I'm on like a lot of them. So I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram, and I'm on Twitter.
Twitter.
You have to say it with like a little bit of a swear.
Yeah.
So yeah, but book talk is like I've found a lot of cool new readers, and yeah, it's a really good place, and I get to be expressive and come up with videos and also hear like not that I need to expand my TBR, but yes, I get to expand my TBR and get awesome tips and stuff. There's like really great authors out there that are like rooting for everybody and helping other authors, and I absolutely like love that sense of community. The rest of it, I'm like, whatever. But I take the good from one of my girlfriends this week. She's like, you kind of remind me of a Pollyanna, and I'm like, I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be offended or not, but
is that a compliment? Is that an insult? Which way am I leaning?
Explain yourself.
Exactly. Well, you see, you guys know what Pollyanna is, because I said that to somebody else, and they're like, "What's Pollyanna?" So thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
We hear book talk a lot is the most, and we hear a lot about like how the community of indie authors is very supportive, which is nice. I think that like people aren't fighting competition, all that crap. It's like very like, oh, you want to write a book, just fucking here's some tips, here's some and I feel like that's a good thing about TikTok. Like, people ram on social media, but I think TikTok's great for that. You get education really quickly, like tips. You get to meet people like you. Yep. Like, I love hearing about book talk.
There is a lot of drama on there too. So
there's drama everywhere.
Yeah,
there's drama with my parents. Like, that's just life. Okay.
You wake up and there's drama. But that's the thing, right? You have to choose how you let the drama affect you, right? So some of the drama for me is pretty entertaining. I'm like, ooh.
Oh, I like watching it too.
Yeah. So some of it I find very entertaining, and when it gets toxic, I'm like, swipe.
Yeah.
I try to ignore the toxic stuff and keep it moving to the positive.
I'm not interested. Yeah.
Unsubscribe.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not following you. Unfollow. Goodbye. Would you say is harder, character development or world building?
Well, they kind of let me build the world, so I would say probably character development. Because I don't have I don't feel like I have tons and tons of control over the character development, because they they're fully formed people, and sometimes they don't tell me like crucial parts of their personality until like I'm like deep in the book. So like I'm writing something right now, and I'm like, I get halfway through, and they're like blah 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 blah, and I'm like, you know when this would have been interested to find out
The beginning.
So yes, character development can be a little difficult for me because I'm not like fully at the wheel, which is interesting. I find like because I listen to other authors and they're like, yeah, I think I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and I'm like, what is that like? What is it like to decide what they're gonna do?
What's it like to have your life together and organized? Tell me.
Yes, it's interesting how different authors go about writing in different ways. I find it really fascinating. Like, cause that's a nerdy part of me that likes looking at the mechanics of it and how different authors approach the whole writing thing.
Yeah, no, that's the one thing I love about doing these interviews, is because we get to hear like every person on our show completed a book. Like they have a book out there you can get, but they all reached that goal very differently. And it's really interesting to like hear, like writing tips or like what their goals are or how they got started or how long it takes for them to finish or whether they're a pantser or a plotter, because like it's all different.
Yeah. When I finished my first book, I was telling like one of my mentors, I said, she's like, oh, so what are you doing? I'm like, oh, well, I'm like halfway done the next book. And she's like, what? And I'm like, what? Am I doing something wrong? And because I didn't know I wasn't supposed to start writing the next book. So I started writing the next book. So I think sometimes too, like not knowing stuff is great too, because it helps you just dive in there and push forward. Because I think if I maybe was like I had in my mind I'm supposed to wait, then maybe I would never keep going kind of.
Yeah. I don't think there's any real set rules about writing and how you're supposed to do it, just as long as it's out there.
It's also like, you won't stay inside the box if you never learn the box.
Exactly. But that's the thing too. I find like, like my first book, like my chapters, some are long, some are short. And I was like, oh, wait, try to be more disciplined. But like, it's about finding your groove. And I think like that is the kind of writer that I am. Like sometimes I'm going to have like longer chapters. So I tried to be more disciplined with these last two books in terms of the length. But I'm like, sometimes it's going to be like the first book where, hey, it's 2 pages. That's the chapter because that's all they have to say. And like to find that comfort in yourself when you're writing, like that takes a little bit of time, but hopefully I will get there. See, that's where I know I'm a baby still.
Maybe you're just, I think you're in your teen years and you're just like experimenting with boundaries.
Really? Yeah.
I think that's where you are.
Okay.
Is there a ritual that you have for writing? Like, is there a certain notebook you need to have, a certain pen? Do you have to have a certain drink with you, a snack? Do you have to have music?
Well, because I write with my writing partner. So when I'm writing with my writing partner, we start off, we have breakfast. Like we literally do this like a 9 to 5. So we have like a little bit of breakfast and then we write and we do sprints until the end of the day. So, but when I'm writing by myself, I love having music. I'm like totally addicted to music. All of my books have my playlist in it because like, and there'll be some quote from some song because until I started writing, I didn't realize how much music was a part of my life and like how eclectic my music tastes are. If you look at my playlist, like you're like, I have no idea who she is because it's like all over the place.
Well, if your playlist is public, like send us a link and we'll just link it below. But like,
yeah, I have a couple of like social media posts with it, and yeah, I'll do that for sure.
You're not the first author to like mention music. Like we've heard like how some authors will write playlists for their books, or some will listen to like specific songs to get them into like the mood for certain scenes. So yeah, no, that's really, what is one artist you're listening to right now?
Well, one artist that I have discovered that I actually really love through the writing process was Rihanna, which was
Oh,
odd because before that, if you'd
Really?
asked me, I would go, "Yeah, she's okay." But apparently, I think she's more than than okay. So, because I think she's appeared on every single playlist, maybe more than once. So, yeah, it's kind of odd.
I
love
love
music.
Rihanna. I did a baton routine to that raining song she did. So
Umbrella,
yeah, that's what it
Ella,
was.
Ella,
And I did a baton
hey.
routine to that in high school. So
Oh my God,
I
you're
love
so
Rihanna.
young. Oh my God.
I love Rihanna. She has so many songs. When she did the NFL halftime show, I was so excited.
Some people were mad at that. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm like, she's doing a death-defying stunt really high in the air while pregnant. What more do you want? Like,
I don't know what they. I think people underestimate what it's like to be pregnant because I know that when I was pregnant, I was like, okay, I'm awake.
Was
Yay.
Eminem and whatever, right? And so they were complaining that it was too flashy and they wanted just the music. So then when Rihanna came on and it was more like about the music and not as flashy, they were complaining. They're like, I expected more out of her. And I'm like, make up your mind, people. Do you want flashy? Do you want music? Like, you can't have it both ways.
People just
Yeah.
want to complain. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it was a Rihanna halftime. So
Yeah.
at your house and during halftime, you could do super flashy. Get some flashlights and
Create your own halftime show. Like,
exactly.
while
You'd be
you're
sitting down
7
after
months
like
pregnant.
30 seconds. God, that was hard.
You know what I was doing when I was 7 months pregnant? Sleeping a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. Well, that was
Growing up.
The whole thing. The whole thing for me was sleep. I was exhausted the whole time. So
Yeah. Like,
I
you
was
know what I
not
was doing
dancing in front of
pregnant?
millions of people.
Yeah.
Okay, so like if you have kids, how do you find writing around that?
Well, I have one little prince. He's really but because I do write a lot during like the daytime, he's generally at school and stuff. But even like when I'm like, he's around and stuff, he's like, "You're writing? Is it going good?" Like he checks in.
That's so cute.
And then, oh yeah, it's really cute because he's like, "Mommy, can I read your book?" And I'm like, "No,
Not this one.
no, not." You saw what I read today. He's
Hey,
like,
maybe one day you'll write a children's book and then he'll be able to read it.
yeah, if we collaborate, I told him you and I should collaborate and write a book together, and then he can read that to his heart's content. But anything that has this name on it, because that's not my name. This is my author name. Anything that has that name on it, after I'm gone, you can do whatever you want. But please don't read it while I'm still on this earth.
So you use like an alias, like an author's name?
Yeah.
Is there like a reason for that, or is it just because you're worried other people might find your books?
I guess a part of it is like my other life, like family and friends. I thought it would be better to do like have a separate kind of identity, and I do and it helps because, like I said, although I present as an extrovert, I'm actually an introvert, and so I think this whole persona helps me, portray the author hopefully well because I get to be, push my boundaries more. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
There's a lot of people that use pen names for multitude of reasons, right? And safety is like a major one, I think, for a lot of people because it doesn't take long to get a stalker. Like, if you watch the movie Misery, you know what I'm talking about. So I totally understand why people do pen names, and it depends on if they have a 9-to-5 job outside of writing on what they do. That could be another reason. So I totally get it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's all of those reasons. I have a son. Although my husband's he's super proud, and he's like, yeah, tell whoever. And I'm like, oh, hey.
We love a supportive partner here.
Yes.
He is phenomenal. I could not do what I do without him. So yeah, that really helps because he'd tell everybody. I'm like, can't tell them I write because you know I write.
That's cute. Well, I'm out of questions. Do you have any more questions, Don?
I think I asked all the questions I had. I asked quite a bit of questions.
This was awesome. Thank you so much. Is this our first Canadian?
I believe so.
I think
Did
this
I
might be our
break your
first Canadian
Canadian
author.
You're
Yeah.
our first Canadian
You're
author.
our first Canadian.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Use this time, plug anything, all your socials, anything you got going on, where people can get your books, everything and anything.
Okay, let's see. I can plug. Okay, so my first book, actually, I don't have. Let's see. I don't know if I can. I don't know. We discovered that this doesn't work. But yes, this is my first book, which is Consumed, which is the darkish romance. It's, of course, it has a special place in my heart. I really love it. It's about a widow who, he finds comfort with his deceased wife's best friend. So,
Yeah.
and it's a little bit toxic because, why not? So
Yeah, why not?
That was my first book. Then the series, which is the Elite series, which is actually, that one is set in the Maritimes. Because we come in Canada. That one's set in the Maritimes in Nova Scotia. And then the GTA books are the Elite series. So the first book is Niccoyan Zheng, and it's actually a amnesia romance. So the main character in this loses his memory. So it's a second chance amnesia romance. And the second book that we talked about is Emulsify, which is a friends to lovers. It's also a second chance. He's British, she's Haitian. There's a lot going on, but I really loved writing it. He's one of my favorite characters, hands down, I think. I could pretty much say that. And there's a third book coming in the series. I'm going to put that out there because people really want to know about Maxim, and his book is going to be interesting because he's got a lot going on that people who've read my other books may not realize. So that's going to be fun. I currently have 2 pre-orders up because I have a novella coming out as part of a collaboration for the K&K matchmaking series.
Okay.
It's K&K, so it's like kind of like tongue-in-cheek for kink matchmaking. The book is called Pleasurer, and it'll be out August 24th. Oh, in exactly 2 months.
Well, if you send us those the links, we can post them in the description.
I definitely will. And then I have an MC book coming out in September, on September 30th. So he's the chaplain of the MC. So, yeah.
I like motorcycle romances too. I really do. I find them interesting. And I had a thing for Jax Teller when Sons of Anarchy.
See, because the nice thing about it is that's the same kind of reason why I like shifter books. Like a lot of the conventions and the rules, you can kind of go out the window.
You can bend those.
Yeah, and I kind of like some of the rules that he gets to break because he's a 1%er. So,
well, obviously.
Yeah, because I'm not knocking anybody's MC books where they're not 1%ers. It's perfectly beautiful as well, but a girl likes when they're a little bit dangerous. So yeah, that's what I have coming up, and I have the events coming up, and I'm just enjoying this author life. And it's fun meeting you readers like you guys. I see you all the time, Dawn, on my feed.
Dawn's everywhere. Oh my gosh, I don't know how she keeps up.
I don't know either, to be honest. It's exhausting, but at the same time, I'm just having fun, right? And that's where we got to meet you, which is fantastic. And I'm so glad I got to actually talk to you now, and to hear more about your books. This is fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really glad you guys had me on. I really appreciate it. And I feel like, Jessica, you're on Book Talk, but I don't have you. I don't think.
I will follow you.
Awesome.
I don't post as much as I used to, and when I did, it was mostly politics. So
okay.
yeah. But yeah, no, yeah. Well, yeah. I will follow you. I will follow you on my personal account. We do have an opinionated Lushes TikTok as well, but we don't really post a lot on there.
Okay,
There's too much going on.
But yeah, I love that community and the new people that I'm getting to meet and the new things I'm getting to learn. So yeah, it is a lot of fun.
No, that's amazing. And we want to thank you so much for like coming on, because all we do is like talk. You wrote a whole book. You wrote multiple actually. So thank you so much, Niccoyan Zheng. Sorry, I want to make sure I pronounce this right.
Yeah, you got it right.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming on. Again, all of the links will be in the description. So definitely check out our book. And thank you again for joining us on this Books and Booze series, because this was just a shot in the dark and we've met a lot of amazing authors and we want to keep doing it. So we'll have one more episode after this and then we are taking a break.
A vacation.
But we will be back in September, October-ish.
Yes.
I want to make promises I can't keep.
I'll
thank you so
up
much.
Things late August.
Yeah. So thank you so much. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Good night.
Night.